unmute. I can't hear you.
You hear me now? I'm talking to a friend of yours. Cheryl, do you hear us? You hear us?
I unmute myself and then it mutes me again. Okay, can you hear me now? I can't hear you.
You're loud and clear.
Okay, okay, that's why.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Sorry to interrupt.
Thank you.
I feel like I should get out of the way and let you speak. I'm actually very interested to hear what you all have to say. Welcome tonight to our next class on the next bracha of Shemona Esrei. I'm just going to start the recording and start the live stream. Just 1 second. Okay, so we are very privileged tonight, as we are every Monday night, but especially tonight, to have one of my close Rebbeim, my Rabbi, Rabbi Ahron Lopiansky, best known as the current Rosh Yeshiva of the Silver Spring Yeshiva. He is a unbelievable scholar, teacher, incredibly balanced and insightful person, as you'll see a tiny glimpse of it from this class. We're at the 7th bracha of Shemona Esrei, Reena v'anyenu, which is a bracha in which we ask Hashem to see our affliction. And we end off with the words that we ask for his redemption. Very appropriate that we're speaking about the bracha of redemption, of being redeemed from difficult times tonight on the 5th night, of Hanukkah. So a happy Hanukkah to all. It was a wonderful way to spend the Hanukkah evening together, learn together, to strengthen our prayers together. Hanukkah is about lahodos ulahalel. It's about praising, thanking God, which are integral components to tefillah. And hopefully through this class, that praise, that thanks will become that much more pronounced and better understood in our request for redemption. So when I was trying to find an appropriate teacher for this class, this is a difficult bracha. The following bracha, somebody asked me, which blessing are we going to learn about tonight? It's the one before healing, right? And it's very understandable that would be the question, because the bracha about healing, Rifa'enu, is something that is so easy to access. Unfortunately, we've all had times where we ourselves are in need of a refuah. Everyone goes through life with that necessity. And we also currently know others who need a refuah. The entire world at this point needs a refuah, meaning a healing. And it's easy to access that bracha of Rifa'enu. The following bracha, Baruch Aleinu, the bracha about asking for sustenance, about asking for parnasa, for livelihood. That's a bracha that's also very easy to relate to. And so for this bracha, we have to call out the big guns and appeal to Rabbi Lopiansky, try to bring it down to earth to us and make it more accessible. Now, in the course of bringing it down to earth for us, Rabbi Lopiansky takes us to the heavens as well. So this is a high level presentation of some of the words and themes of this bracha, and it's incredible. Something Lopiansky is known for, that I know him for, in addition to many other areas, is he always hits the nail on the head. Always. When he's asked to give a shiur on any topic, he's able to wrap up the whole thing in a neat package with a nice bow and a story that goes along with it. He's incredible. And no one knows this better than myself and the Cortell family. Thank you to Harriet Cortell and to the rest of the Cortell family for sponsoring this class. They are sponsoring in honor of the teacher, Rabbi Lopiansky. He is a teacher of several now multi-generational Cortel boys, and they wanted to show their appreciation for the Rosh Yeshiva, for Rabbi Lopiansky. So without further ado, I'm going to step aside, well, kind of. Given the high-level nature of this class and the fact that Rabbi Lopiansky takes us through some sources and some ideas very quickly, I'm going to do what I did a few classes ago when Rabbi Herschel Schechter gave us his class. This one is a binyan. It's a structure. It's a beautiful structure that flows from beginning to end. And I'm going to preface each section, or the sections that need some introduction. I'm going to preface those sections with some introductory remarks. As a matter of fact, I made a source sheet for you all so we can all follow together. So come with me to the beginning of the source sheet. I'm going to share my screen. One second, let me find the source sheet on my other screen and then I'll share it. Make sure it's the right one. Okay. Just a second. Share screen. Okay. So you should all see in front of you my source sheet that I made for this class to follow Rabbi Lopiansky's thoughts on the bracha. Here's the bracha in front of us. Reena ve'anyenu. The translation here is just the one that I found available online. Look upon our affliction. Re'eh ve'anyenu. Some say, some have the girsa, some have the variant text of Re'ena. Please look upon our affliction and defend our cause, and redeem us speedily for the sake of your name, because you are a mighty redeemer. Blessed are you, Hashem, redeemer of Israel. Go El Yisrael. That's the words of this bracha. Short, but very powerful. So what does this mean? What do you think of when you recite this bracha? What do I think of when I recite this bracha? So tonight we're going to start to understand what this means and bolster those thoughts. So there, Rabbi Lopiansky focuses on two words that really encapsulate this bracha, the two most powerful words that drive this bracha. And by the way, I don't see you on my screen, so if you have, if it's not clear, just let me know, please unmute yourselves. But this word, ve'anyenu, look at our affliction. It's an unusual use of this word of only affliction. What is it? What affliction are we talking about? What type of affliction are we referring to? V'rivarivenu, and fight our cause, uge'alenu, and redeem us. So the two ends of this bracha are look at something which is afflicting us, ve'anyenu, our affliction, and redeem us, uge'alenu, and redeem us. And the bracha is go El Yisrael, redeemer of Israel. This is the bracha of redemption. So from what are we asking? What is the affliction that we're talking about? What is it? Are we talking about just being not in our land? Is it talking about not having Mashiach? I mean, there are lots of brachas that talk about not having Mashiach. So what is it referring to, and what's the redemption? What does it actually mean? It's a very important question. So Rabbi Lopiansky starts by explaining to us the structure of Shemona Esrei. Until now, we've talked about, we've researched, we've developed, we've thought and talked about the first three brachos. Those are introductory brachos, introductory blessings. Afterwards, there are 13 middle brachos. Those are brachos, blessings of request, asking Hashem for things. And then we have the three ending brachos of thanks, asking for peace, etc. So we are now together collectively in the middle of Shemona Esrei. And we are in the middle of these brachos. And in the 13 requests in the middle, they can be broken up into two categories. There are 6 brachos that deal with private needs. The bracha of requesting insight, asking for repentance, for forgiveness, those are 3. And then we have redemption stuck in there somehow. We'll get back to that. Health and healing, rifa'enu, as I mentioned before, prosperity. Those are all personal requests for each and every one of us. Those are 6 brachos. Then there are the next set of 6 brachos, 6 blessings, and they deal with national needs, the process through which we will ultimately experience the coming of Mashiach, the ingathering of exiles, restoration of justice, against heretics who are in our way, extolling the righteous, giving them their just reward, rebuilding Jerusalem, the Davidic reign in Esamach David. Those are the following brachos. So there's really a nice dividing point. When I was first making up the poster for this program, I was trying to think of how to break up the brachos in a way to create different modules so that it'd be easier to access. And I didn't catch this, and it's very obvious. It's very obvious that there is this break between personal requests and national requests in these 13 middle brachos. The final one being Shema Kolenu, which is the sum all of all the brachos. This Re'eh ve'anyenu is kind of wedged in here, because Re'eh ve'anyenu we would think is referring to national affliction, the fact that we need a national redemption, and yet it appears smack in the middle of our personal requests. Why is that? That is the first question that Rabbi Lopiansky develops. I'm going to play the first couple of minutes of his talk, and then I'll introduce the next section of his talk. He's going to ask a few pointed questions about the words we use in this bracha, develop the idea, and then answer those questions in a very clear structure, which you'll see. So I'm going to just call up the video here, and we'll listen to his words.
Monestra. So we have a structure for the brachas. We have the first three brachas, which are introductory in the nature. You then have the brachas that 12 brachas that are requests. In the request itself, there seems to be a sort of structure. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 brachas that deal with private needs. And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plus 1 brachas that deals with more public needs. Or let's put it this way, 6 brachas that deal with public need and 1 bracha that sort of sums up everything. So the brachas that deal with public needs, you have Tkabeh Shofar, which is Kibbutz Goliath, Shiva Shofteinu is bringing back Sanhedrin and leadership. Lamal Shirim Al Sikfa was a later bracha added about the Rishoyim that are really causing difficulty for Klal Yisrael. You have Alat Tzadikim of the Ziknei Amcha Beis Yisrael, Yerushalayim, and Esemach David Mashiach, and finally Shema Kolenu. One bracha that sticks out as an anomaly is Re'ena V'anyenu, because this is really dealing with the section of brachas that is that are private. Atachonen is a request for personal enlightenment, for personal wisdom. Hashivenu is a bracha for personal tshuva. Slachlon Avinu is personal forgiveness. Rifa'enu, I'm skipping Re'ena V'anyenu, is for healing, which is kind of personal. And Baruch Aleinu is for parnasa, which is personal. Now, obviously, we ask for everyone. We do ask for we frame it as requests for everybody, but the nature of them seems to be things that each person needs, as opposed to the last 6 brachas or so, which are public and just in the nature of it. Why is Re'ena V'anyenu stuck in over here? It's the way the bracha finishes Gol Yisrael, which definitely sounds like a general request for Gula, This Gula is the ultimate request, which includes all the other things that we mentioned. So it's very, very strange that Reena is included here. Actually, Rashi makes that point. The Gemara.
Okay, so I think you can see me here in the corner. So the point that, as a matter of fact, I'm going to stop this share screen right now because I want to show you the source sheet. So question number one, the structure of the bracha, what's it doing here in the middle? It's something which is a national request, and it seems to be embedded in this in these brachos, these blessings that deal with personal request. The next, Rabbi Lopiansky is going to refer to a source in a Gemara in Megillah. I'm going to call it up on the screen right now. We'll learn it together, and then we'll go back to the video. Okay, here's the next source in our source sheet here. This is a Gemara, Talmud in Megillah, Yud Zayin, Megillah 17. The Gemara there discusses the order of the brachos. It's actually very rich and valuable in our particular topic of going through the brachos of Shemona Esrei to know why they're structured as they are. And the Gemara says, why? Why is it that the bracha of Ma Ra'u Lomar Gula B'Shavios, why did they see fit to institute, to say the blessing of redemption as the seventh blessing? There's a bit of a background to this, which is that it doesn't seem to fit the order that the Gemara is going with. I'll just say it in that short form so we don't get off track. But the Gemara, it's not just a question of why 7, Well, if it was 4, you'd ask why 4. If it was 2, you'd ask why 2. No, it's a stronger question than that based upon the verses that the order of blessings are structured upon. So I'm just going to reference the fact that it's a strong question, but let's see this answer. So the answer is, I'll read it in Hebrew and in English. Amar Rava mitoch she'asidin ligol b'shvi'is, lefichach kavua b'shvi'is. Rava said, since there's a tradition that the Jewish people are destined to be redeemed in the 7th year, of the sabbatical cycle. So therefore, they fixed the bracha of redemption as the 7th blessing. That's what the Gemara says. Because redemption is in the 7th year, so we talk about redemption in the 7th blessing. And then the Gemara says, V'ha'amar amar, b'shishis kolos, b'shviyas melchamos, b'motzei shviyas ben David ba. The Gemara says, yeah, but that tradition is a little bit more nuanced. It actually says in the 6th year of the sabbatical cycle, that's when we start hearing heavenly sounds that Mashiach is coming. In the 7th year, there will be wars at the end of time. And then upon the conclusion of the 7th year, meaning 7th, going into 8, which is reminiscent of Hanukkah, the 8 nights of Hanukkah, which refer to this idea of going beyond the here and the now, beyond the 7 days of the week, beyond the 7 sabbatical, the 7 years of the sabbatical cycle, going into 8th, going into something which is higher. So here the Gemara says that at the conclusion of the 7th year, going into the 8th year, that's when we can expect Ben Yishai, that's when we can expect Ben David, we can expect the son of David meeting Mashiach. So it's not in the 7th year, it's in the 8th year. So why is the bracha in the 7th slot of Shemona Esrei, of the Amida? So the Gemara answers, it's because the war that takes place during the 7th year is also the beginning of the redemptive process. It's the beginning of the redemptive process. So 7 kind of goes into 8 with regards to the redemptive process. Now Rashi here says something very interesting, very important for our bracha. Rashi says, so we're saying that this is the beginning. 7 is the beginning of Geula. What type of Geula are we referring to? What type of redemption are we talking about here? Here, Rashi says, Hi Geula, there's no translation here, I'm sorry, I'll translate it as I speak. Hi Geula lav Geula de galus hi. It's not talking about the redemption of being in exile, in national exile, Ela shiyigalenu min atzaros habaros elenu tamid. But he should redeem us from the trials and tribulations, from the pains, from the suffering, from the tzaros that we suffer always, the daily, everyday tzaros that we are undergoing. That's what this bracha is referring to. So Rashi says, even though this bracha does not refer to national redemption, nevertheless, it's all under the same rubric, the same category, the same name, redemption. Therefore, it's fitting that it takes this slot of the seventh bracha. Let's hear the Rosh Hashiva.
Says in Megillah, the Gemara speaks about the structure of the brachas, and the Gemara asks, why is Geula before Refuah? One would expect, because of the location of Pasik, for Gula to be after Refuah. So the Gemara says there's a special exception made. It's out of order, but since it's the seventh bracha, then counting from the very beginning, therefore Geula happens on the seventh year, and so it was felt to be especially appropriate to make Gula as the seventh bracha. So Rashi over there in Megillah says, even though the Geula we're talking about in our prayers is not the Geula of the eventual Gula we're talking about, it refers to the redemption from all sorts of difficulties, all sorts of tsaros that befall us constantly. And it's actually Kibbutz Golius, Min Yerushalayim, and Tzemach David, the later brachas that deal with the Geula in a general sense. Rashi says, still, since it's called Geula, so it's put in the seventh. So Rashi is in fact pointing out the anomaly of this bracha spoken about Geula, but it's not the big Geula that we're talking about, Mashiach, and all the Jews come back to Israel and so on and so forth. We're talking about the Geula from personal tsaros, from tsaros that constantly befall us. So the question is, so why is it called Geula? Because Geula is a general term. It talks about redemption, and it talks about the sweeping issues of Klal Yisrael, which would be subsumed under redemption, and then it would make sense. That's what Gula is, and that's where it ought to be. And yet over here we have something similar, but it deals with people's private issues or just the general sorrows that beset us. So what is it exactly referring to? What do we mean over here? It seems to be, are we talking about anti-Semitism? What exactly are we talking about over here? Also, the word Reena ve'anyenu, the word ani,
So this is just a momentary pause. So that was, as I mentioned before, that's what he spelled out, proving, showing us the sources that teach us that this bracha, even though it sounds like it's national, it's actually talking about our personal everyday tsaros, problems, and we're going to get a clear definition of what those problems are. It's astounding. The next point Rabbi Lopiansky is about to make is just focusing, so that's the redemptive part of the bracha. Geula, go el Yisrael. Geula means redemption. Redemption from what? So now we have to go back and talk about the affliction. The bracha says, we say every day, see our affliction. What affliction? What affliction are we referring to? So he zeroes in on the etymology of the word anyenu. Anyenu has the word ani in it, impoverished, a poor person. Ani is a poor person. But a poor person can be referred to by a slew of different types of, by different words in the Hebrew language. Why was this one chosen? What is this? What is the angle of the poor person that is inferred by the word anyenu or oni? That's the next point.
And oni in Hebrew actually usually means poverty, poor person, poverty, etc. And it can also mean affliction. So here it says Reena ve'anyenu. We're obviously not talking about poverty. we're talking about affliction, but it's a strange word. It's strange that the word ani means both. In Hebrew, there are actually quite a few words that are synonyms for poor. There's dal, there's evion, there's ani. The different words seem to mean something similar. And obviously, the word evion, which means a pauper, cannot refer to anything else but a pauper. And dal, it refers also to someone who doesn't have much money. Ani seems to have some additional meanings. And in that case, it would apply, it's a meaning of poverty that applies to other areas of life as well. So that would be something that we would want to understand. What is the exact definition of ani, or better said, what angle of poverty are we talking about that we can stretch it and take it to mean tsaros in general? What are we talking about? So we're trying to understand the concept of Gula as it's presented here, as meaning not the big Gula, the big picture we talk about, but rather Gula from all our tsaros. And then we also we speak about our oni, Reena ve'onyeno, look at our poverty, suffering. None of these words. The word oni does come from poverty. Suffering is sort of a word, a meaning that's stretched a bit. So what specific aspect of our personal suffering are referring to in this parish, in this tefillah? One more place where we can get a sense of the word of Geula and its usage.
Okay, so this following source is the last source that he quotes in this class, and if you're following along, as I'm sure you are, you'll note that we're building up to a final understanding, which rests upon these building blocks and creates a very solid structure of understanding. So there's different ways to give a class. One can just give the final bottom line and say, well, the bracha of Reena is referring to this, go home, have a nice day. And that's nice. But the way we develop it and we show, meaning Rabbi Lopiansky, shows the sources that it's built upon and the depth of understanding of the brachas really affects how it comes off and how you walk away with it in your mind. So let's bear with me. We'll indulge in just one more source, and then I think I can let the rest of the video go till the end as he spells it out. So I'll stop this screen and we'll go to the next source together. Okay, this is a source which is well known. This is the beginning of Parshas Ve'era in the Sefer Shmos, Exodus. And this is the 4 or 5 expressions of redemption. We talk about it on Leil HaSeder, we talk about it on the Seder night. There are songs about it. It's actually the V'otzeisi, V'tzalti, V'ga'alti, V'lakachti, and V'havesi are 5 expressions of redemption that the Torah refers to when Hashem talks about taking us out of Egypt. 5 different expressions, 4 or 5 different expressions. The Gemara counts 5, others count 4 of them. That's a different shir. Here they are. V'hotzeisi, and I will free you from the labors of the Egyptians. This is Hashem speaking, not me. I will free you from I'll take you out. I'll take you out of the labor. V'tzalti, I'll deliver you from their bondage. V'ga'alti, and I shall redeem you. Next, v'lakachti, I will take you. Lakachti eschem li'la'am, I will take you to me to be my people. And the last one, v'hevesi eschem el aretz, I will bring you into the land. 5 expressions of redemption, but there's something very different about one of them. This was like a drawing, can say, what thing doesn't belong. Not that it doesn't belong, but it's very different. 4 expressions out of 5 talk about the redemption and what we're being redeemed from, what we're being saved from, or where we're going to. One of them does not. There's no description attached to the verb. Four of them, yes, one of them, not. This is what the Rosh Hashiva points out.
And that is in the beginning of Parshas Va'era, when Hashem promises to Moshe that I will redeem the Jewish nation. So it goes like this. L'chein amar l'bnei Yisrael, tell the sons of Israel, Ani Hashem, I Hashem, v'hotzeisi eschem mitzvah Mitzrayim. I will take you out of the suffering in Mitzrayim. V'hitzalti eschem mitzvah. I will save you from the work. V'ga'alti eschem b'zoh tu'ashvat nigdolim. I will redeem you with an outstretched arm and with great punishments for the Egyptians. I will take you as a nation, and I will bring you to Eretz Israel. So we have 5 different actions on behalf of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We have v'hotzeisi, v'hitzalti, v'ga'alti, v'lakachti, v'vesi. Now, 4 of those 5 have a, so to speak, an object of what they're doing. V'hotzeisi, I will take you out from the suffering in Egypt. V'hitzalti, I will save you from working for them. V'lakachti eschem lila'am, number 4, I will take you for a nation. V'vesi eschem, I will bring you to Eretz Yisrael. So all of these are kind of transitive verbs. They all have an object. I'll take you out of Egypt. I will save you from their, from what they're doing to you. I will bring you to Eretz Yisrael. I will take you as a nation. V'ga'alti eschem stands alone. V'ga'alti eschem doesn't say from what to what, nothing. V'ga'alti eschem, I will begoil you. V'zoy dolam just tells me how I'll do it. But what is the verb doing? Whenever you're saving Klal Yisrael, whenever you're helping Klal Yisrael, you're rescuing them from something. You're giving them, you bring them to Eretz Yisrael, you give them something. There has to be some sort of sense of what is it that this action is going to help you against, and it's missing. So let's understand what the V'ga'alti is exactly, in that it stands independent of any object that we're doing it to. So let's go back to the word tsaros, and my Rabbi Moshe Shapiro would say the following observation. He would use it vis-a-vis the word Yeshua, but I think the understanding of tzara would be just that piece alone would give us insight into the meaning over here of Gula. The word tzara we tend to translate as a suffering of some sort. Everybody, it's like pornography. We recognize it when we see it, but we can't define it exactly. Everyone knows what tsaras are. But what exactly does the word tzara mean? I mean, tsaras come in every suffering, troubles, problems. I guess troubles would be probably best. But in Hebrew, the word tzara comes from the word tsar, which means narrow or constricted. When a person suffers something, there's the pain and the need of what he's suffering. There's a second aspect to it, and that is the scrunching of the person's personality. So just like if I take something and I put it in a very tight space, so first of all, it's painful. It also diminishes the entity that I put into that tight space, and it becomes constricted. And it becomes a smaller version of oneself. So tsarus is the mental / emotional effect of crushing someone who's undergoing some sort of issue. So a person who, God forbid, suffers from poor health, so there are the particular aspects of poor health that he's suffering. And then there's a general sense of not being yourself. You lose that the confidence, you lose the ability to express yourself in any sense of the word, because you're crushed by the ill health. The same thing is true by poverty. The Malbim says that the word ani, as opposed to dal, the word dal, meaning poor, means not having much assets. The dal is a description of not having amount of having a small amount of money or assets. Only, he says, actually is derived from the same root as ono, meaning like kanua, someone who feels overwhelmed, nichna, someone who feels crushed, defeated, he is oppressed by somebody, and in his own mind and his own sense of self, he is really humbled, humiliated, etc., before the other person. So the word ani is not so much a description of his lack of means, but a description of the person's personality. He has an ani personality. He is a person who is kind of down, depressed, and unable to express himself. I once heard someone described, he was trying to explain someone's condition, and he said, it says that when an angel, before a person is born, the angel declares whether the person will be wise or foolish, wealthy or poor, weak or strong, but not whether he'll be a good person or not. That's left for Bechira. So he asked, I don't understand why it's important to have him declared poor or wealthy. I understand why you have to, set up the genes he should be smart or stupid, the genes to set up the genes whether he should be strong or weak. That has to be hardwired in the genes. Wealthy or poor is something that when he's old enough to earn money, then you could declare whether the person will be poor or not. And his answer was, there are some, we can speak of poor people who have a lack of means, and that certainly doesn't have to be declared when you're born. But sometimes a person has the personality of a poor man, and that's part and parcel of who you are. In other words, Oni describes a wide variety of conditions whose common denominator is that the person feels very, very humbled, crushed is probably a better word, defeated, despaired. That's what Ani describes. So this request over here deals not with Gula in the global sense of all of the Jewish nations needs as having a king and a Sanhedrin and etc. It deals with the all our suffering and plight that have changed us and don't allow us to become who we need to be. Not because it directly affects us. Obviously, if I don't have any money, I can't give tzedakah. But if I don't have any money, why can't I do many mitzvahs? And the answer is because I just don't have the spirit to do it. I feel down, I feel crushed, I feel insignificant in a bad way, and therefore I'm just not going to do anything. It robs us of a lot of our ability, our confidence to be the people we need to be. So Reena Vanyeno belongs to the private section, to the section of private needs, because we're not talking about the universal needs of Klal Yisrael. We're talking about every Jew as he suffers becomes somewhat nebbish, and we suffer a lot. But it's not the suffering per se, it's the reaction to it. It's the fact that we're crushed. Gula is the process that undoes it. And therefore, when we looked at the psukim, so v'hotzeisi, to take you out, is an address. We take you out of Egypt. V'hitzalti, when we save you, me'avadasam, there's an address from the avoda. V'goalti eschem, it has no address. Lakachti eschem, I will take it to a nation that's I am taking you to me as a nation. And ve'veisesem, I will bring you to Eretz Yisrael. The first two and the last two have an address. This doesn't. Because in effect, what we're saying is like this. First, I will remove the external reasons that are pressing you, the external reasons that are crushing you. Obviously, before we do that, there's no point in uplifting our spirits. There's no point in freeing us of our feeling humbled and despaired and so on. But once we remove the issues that are in fact crushing Klal Yisrael, now we also have to deal with the spirit of Klal Yisrael that has been crushed due to being in Egypt 200 years, being a slave and garbage, and life is worthless, and all that comes with it. We were crushed people. You can't take a crushed person and make him into a divine nation. You can't take a crushed person and put him at Yisrael. There's nobody home. It's like, God forbid, when people were freed from the concentration camps, there was the problem of the Nazis, killing them, and that was taken care of once they were freed. And they were starving and everything. But once you solve those problems, you still were dealing with people that were crushed. They had been destroyed, and that was a whole different facet of what the suffering caused. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu said, once I remove your external problems, the Egyptians and their enslavement, I now will Viga'alti eschem is it's something onto its own. I don't need, it's not from what, it's to return you, to reconstitute you to your true self. And that's why we do have two words. Bezorah and Tuyah Shvatim Dolim means with a grand, Bezorah with an outstretched arm and with tremendous revenge on the Egyptians. The purpose of that is to give you back your spirit. When I've been crushed and defeated, and now I'm being redeemed with a tremendous fanfare, and the Egyptians have this crushing blow, that restores me to myself, and it gives me back my spirit. So Bracha of Geula deals with an aspect of divine help that is and it's in some ways, it's the key to everything else, because all the other issues that we need to remove some externality, and we need to get rid of some external issue, that's whether it's poverty, whether it's ill health, whether it's even sins, all of those primary factors create some issues, but they in itself, those in themselves, taking away those primary issues is not going to bring us back to where we were. If somebody was crushed by a big weight and I take the weight off, the person is still a crushed person. Reconstituting the person and bringing him back to who he is and what he is, that's a whole new that's a whole new process. That's the bracha of Gula. Reena v'nyenu. We ask that Hashem see the fact that we are crushed people. V'riverivenu, fight our fights means push back at everything else that's crushing us. Ugaleinu mehera leman shmecha kigol chazakata. So we ask for redemption. The word redemption means, in this case, the bring us back to who we are. The word geula is used most commonly with galus, because when we are in galus, which means in exile, there are many, many issues that we face, what we lost and the oppression and so on. But more than anything else, being in somebody else's galus means we're in somebody else's domain. It crushes us. It's a tzara, because we can't spread it out and develop ourselves the way we ought to in somebody else's domain. So Geula is the process that gives us back ourselves. I think it's something to think about a lot these days, because, we've been through a difficult period for almost a year now. If we take a look at the world history, this is not from the most difficult periods, but it's difficult enough. And I think part of a lot of whatever sufferings we've had, so we've had, God forbid, people passed away, people got really ill, economy suffered terribly, people are stuck in their little dollar amis, and that's taken a blow, that's taken a toll on us and so on. The big picture is there's a certain level of only certain level of being crushed. We're just not the same people we were in terms of the confidence of who we are and so on and so forth. A certain demoralization. Geula is the process that undoes that reconstitutes us and gives us back our self in the big way. So HaKadosh Baruch will help us that this bracha be fulfilled, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu sees how much we've been, how down we are from everything we have gone through, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give us back ourselves and who we really are, allow us to open up in full and become the full people that we ought to be, Bez Hashem, and true personally, and Bez Hashem, true for everybody.
Okay, I'll say amen to that bracha. What a wonderful shir, a wonderful class, really developed idea, answering all the questions we started with and coming out with a much deeper understanding. As I mentioned before, when I was thinking about this bracha, hard to connect to. What does it mean? What does redemption mean? Is it just another, not just another in the sense that we have too many, but is it another step in the national redemptive process, which we're going to have to figure out how to connect to also when we get to those brachos. And we started with the question of what type of redemption is this? And we've gotten the answer that this is not the question, this is the answer. This bracha is the key, the understanding that the notion of geula, of redemption, is the return and the freedom to be oneself, to lift off the shackles of constraints upon your personality or upon what you're capable of, that has been removed through different points of suffering. That's what this bracha is about. Rabbi Lopiansky mentioned the idea that a person can be freed from his suffering and yet not freed from his internal tsaros, the constrictions, the constraints, the crushedness, which is a word I just invented, which is left behind through those points of suffering. And that even once those are removed, if you have a poor person who is suddenly given tremendous wealth, they don't know how to handle it. You have somebody who is really impoverished, not well educated, wins the lottery, and there's all sorts of stories about how they lose their money. They don't know how to handle it because they, in addition to the physical bounty that they've received, they haven't been brought up to speed in their mind, in their character, and their personality. So that's what this bracha is about. It's the key to Gula. The key is to recognize who we are, what we are capable of, to recognize that beyond those tsaros, once those tsaros are removed, we also have to grow into the new redemptive people that we're going to be. Now, Rabbi Lopiansky referred to this bracha as being sort of like afterwards, after we have everything else taken care of, we still need this redemption. But one can also extend it to during, while we are experiencing difficulties. We can still daven, we can still pray and beseech Hashem that those difficulties should not constrain us, that we should be able to be ourselves, to recognize our potential even while we're in a situation that's compromised. Personally, just tell you this, I'm sitting now this is not the setting that I usually broadcast in. I'm sitting in it looks like an easy chair, right? And I don't have a jacket on. The reason that I'm in this position, and I don't say the following for sympathy, just telling you where I am. I had a badly twisted, sprained ankle, very bad sprained ankle. It's been 2 weeks, and I've been at home, stuck at home at 2 weeks, which is, I guess, kind of the theme of this year, is being stuck at home. So I have another reason to be stuck at home. I sprained my ankle, bad sprain. Baruch Hashem, some wonderful community members have helped get a good diagnosis, good for everything. Each and every day is a bracha in which it gets a little bit better. But I have to keep my foot up all the time. I can't let it down. It gets swollen. You don't have to know the details. The point is that I'm stuck, right? And that can easily lead to an attitude of being stuck. It takes me a long time to get from point A to point B, to get from this room where I'm broadcasting this class to the other room where I hang out on my couch all day, trying to get comfortable to be able to be productive and work and try to enjoy the benefit of being able to help people that I have. So, that slow process of just getting from A to B could affect the way I think about what my capabilities are. I can see it. Hopefully I have not suffered that consequence, but I can see how that could be a consequence, maybe perhaps one that I'm not even cognizant of. And therefore the bracha could be even now that I can't walk around. It takes me forever to do anything. Just to get up and get something. If I don't have a pen with me, as I move around the house, I have to plan everything ahead of time so as not to have to come back and schlep back to the other side of the house. So that could be very constrictive, very constraining, and it's bad enough. Not that it's terrible. I'm sure there's a good reason that I'm in this position, and it's okay and it's fine. I have no complaints, but it's enough to deal with the technical side, and one doesn't have to be subject to the difficulties that are foisted upon them. It's psychologically, it's a decision, but even more than that, spiritually, here with this bracha, it's an opportunity to ask Hashem and to daven and to beseech of Him that He should see our suffering, to see what's going on, not just the refuah that's coming up next week, or the necessity for wealth or parnasa, just livelihood, coming up in 2 weeks, but to recognize that in addition to those physical deficiencies, that also could lead to psychological and spiritual deficiencies, and that's what this bracha is about. It's about the redemption of ourselves. And so on this, the fifth night of Hanukkah, I thank you all for joining me. I bless us all to continue to experience the upward climb of lighting one candle after the next, both through Hanukkah and into next week after Hanukkah when we have our next class. Thank you very much for joining me. It's a big schus, it's a big merit to be able to share these thoughts with you. Thank you.
Refuah Shlema.
Shkoa.
Rabba Rabba. Be well. Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you very much. You too. Thank you. Next week we have Rabbi Hillel Goldberg coming to us from Denver live, actually. I think he'll be able to take questions as well. Rabbi Hillel Goldberg is a well-known author, journalist, thinker. He's going to be presenting the next bracha on Rifa'enu, on health and healing. We'll see you next week.